Welcome aboard the Bitcoin Express. My name is Chase. Let's get to it. This man on the screen right here is Spencer Dinwiddie, point guard of the Brooklyn Nets basketball team. And he's trying to do something revolutionary in sports and also in finance. So what Spencer Dinwiddie is trying to do is introduce tokenized contracts to the NBA. And in today's video, I'm going to talk to you and explain to you what a tokenized contract is, its benefits, and its risks. So to start off with the benefits of it, and like I said, I will explain to you what the tokenized contract is and how it works, because at first glance, it's a little hard to understand. So we will get to that. But first, the benefits. So Spencer Dinwiddie wants to introduce these tokenized contracts as a digital investment vehicle that would allow fans to invest in players. And this is pretty revolutionary. Pretty much the way sports has always been and how it is today is people pay money to watch sports. They spend a lot of hours on sports and they don't really get anything in return. I guess, yes, they get entertainment in return, but they never make any money. They're spending all of these hours. So with this new revolutionary idea, Spencer Dinwiddie wants to give some power to the consumers, the people watching as well. And when people buy into this tokenized contract, which I did say I will explain, they will get returns in the 15% range. And it's something like a stock or investing in a bond. And he wants to do this because he sees that athletes are an untapped asset class. So like I said, this is very revolutionary. And it's just another way for people to invest their money, I guess you would say safely. People have checkings accounts, and they're guaranteed up to $250,000 by the FDIC in case something ever happens to that money. And they get small returns. And then you also have people that invest in stocks. They might get larger returns, but there's also more risk. So this is just another way, another opportunity, or I guess option for people to invest their money. And the last benefit here is that this gives athletes some, I guess, peace of mind knowing that athletes have relatively short careers. They could get one injury, they could be done. So these contracts will help protect athletes, and as I mentioned before, it'll also give benefit to consumers and investors. So let's talk about how the contract works. So in sports and in the NBA, a person gets a contract assigned to a certain amount of years. So in Spencer Dinwiddie's specific case, he has a 3-year contract where he will be paid $34 million. The way contracts usually work is you're paid the money over time. You're not given, $34 million right away and then you play the 3 years, or you're not even given half. You're paid it over time. So as I mentioned, athletes, they would like to have money up front, more of it, and also you never know what could happen in your career. So this is a way you can give power to the athlete. So in his case, he has a 3-year contract. Instead of waiting for 3 years to receive all the money, he's going to build a tokenized contract on the Ethereum blockchain. And if you're familiar, when you use a tokenized contract on something such as Ethereum, you could take tokens to represent the value of the contract. So in Spencer Dinwiddie's case, he's going to create 90 tokens. And he's going to sell them for $150,000 each. So that's a lot of money. As you can see, not your average Joe can get into it. It's $150,000. So you buy into his contract. Now, all of a sudden, in a lump sum, he receives a lot of money. Now, the people that bought these tokens, that bought these assets, they will get a payout of about 4.9% interest on a monthly basis until the contract matures in 2023. So it seems pretty safe. What's the problem here? Spencer Dinwiddie will be happy, or whoever the player is, if this is successful in the future that gets a tokenized contract, the player will be happy. They'll have a lot of money up front. They'll be able to use that money to invest it. And then also the people watching will be happy. They'll be investing in a player and they'll be receiving money from the contract. So at first, the NBA wasn't too happy about this. This is such a revolutionary idea. It's dangerous. Maybe consumers will lose money. A problem that the NBA had initially with this contract is that things can change. In Spencer Dinwiddie's 3-year contract, the third year it gives him the option of going to another team. So who knows, maybe he'll go to another team and get a bigger contract, or maybe, it's a player option, or maybe he'll leave the team. Maybe he's not happy for whatever reason it is. So whatever the initial contract was to the investor, it might change over time. So because of this, Dinwiddie planned to remove this from the deal. Now the NBA are coming back and they're saying, maybe we'll let this happen. Maybe this will work. So as I mentioned, not anyone can get involved in this. You have to be an accredited investor. Now, what is an accredited investor? It's someone with a net worth over $1 million, and that does not include their primary residence or where they live. Or an accredited investor can be someone that makes $200,000 a year over the last 2 years, or a couple making $300,000 together over the last 2 years. Now, we talked about what a tokenized contract is, and we talked about the benefits. This gives power to the player, and it also gives power to the fans and to the investors. So what are the risks? So part of the risk has to do with, as I just mentioned, being an accredited investor. Usually, you need to be an accredited investor when you invest into things that might require more knowledge or are more risky, because they don't want your average person just jumping into something like this and losing their money. So here are the risks of a tokenized contract. So first off, these contracts are illiquid, meaning that if you buy these tokens and you're not happy, you're scared, whatever is going on in the NBA or in the investment, you can't just sell it. You're pretty much locked in. So that's one of the risks of these tokenized contracts, is for whatever reason you need the money, you're scared of the investment, you can't back out of the investment. Now, it's important to know, I know many people might say, wow, a 3-year contract, what if he gets injured? Then people lose their money. Well, the good thing about sports contracts is generally injuries, especially injuries that happened during the game or in the season, it doesn't affect the contract usually. If you're guaranteed a certain amount of money, you'll continue to be paid out that money. So for people worried about Spencer Dinwiddie getting injured, whatever, breaking his leg, who knows, maybe he even, gets injured this year and never plays again. It doesn't matter. He'll still get the money from the contract, so the investors will get the money, right? But you have to remember, nothing is ever guaranteed. So the first risk is that it is illiquid. You can't sell it at any point just because you're scared or you need the money. The second thing is the NBA can shut down, and it's happened before. It happened in the 1990s, and then it happened in 2011. It's called an NBA lockout, having to do with players who are not happy, whatever the reasons are. And in 2011, there was an NBA lockout, and the season was shortened. So players didn't receive their full contract, their full money from the contract. The second thing that can happen with a player that can void their contract and pretty much would ruin this whole tokenized contract is behavior issues. And Spencer Dinwiddie had, very good reputation, never got into any trouble. But that can be said for many athletes that have gotten in trouble in the past. It comes out of nowhere. So you have to look at someone's moral character and say, will this person, for the 3 years of the contract, will they behave appropriately, or will they do something to make their contract void? And we see this happen over and over again in sports. For example, Ron Artest in the NBA, we saw him got into a fight with a fan. So his whole contract was nullified. It was void. We see players getting involved in, this is Plaxico Burress. He was a wide receiver for the New York Giants. He shot himself in the leg, and then he went to jail. So people get into all type of behavioral issues that will remove them from the league and nullify their contract. And then also, we spoke about injuries, right? Injuries, if you get injured, you break your leg, whatever it is, your contract is still valid, you'll still get paid out. The investors who invested in the contract will get paid out. But that's not always the case. If someone gets injured doing an extracurricular activity, especially an activity that the NBA wouldn't approve of, their contract will also be void, or a certain amount of money won't be paid out. For example, Golden State Warriors, they suspended their guard, Monte Ellis, for 30 games in the past without pay because he suffered an ankle injury. But he suffered it while riding a moped, so that was on his own account. And then also there's drug issues. Tyreek Evans, NBA player, he was dismissed from the NBA for drug violation. So when it comes to Spencer Dinwiddie, you have to ask, is this a man who has any behavioral issues, drugs, fighting, whatever the reason is? It seems to me that one of the most important things while investing into a tokenized contract is not how good the player is or if they're going to be an all-star. It's just looking at the amount the contract is worth and just saying, is this person a stand-up citizen? Will this person play in the NBA? Even if we're talking about a player who's not good, maybe his contract is for $5 million a year, and you know, based on the terms of the contract, that he'll get those $5 million. Now you can invest in the contract as long as this person, behaves, doesn't get into any fights, doesn't do any drugs, doesn't get into any crazy accidents while doing any crazy activities. The investors will likely get their money. But again, as I mentioned, this is for accredited investors only because nothing is ever guaranteed. And we also don't know how this will play out. This is a very new revolutionary concept. So there you have it, Spencer Dinwiddie trying to empower athletes and at the same time empower fans and empower investors. We don't know how this will run, how smoothly it will run. Again, the NBA did come out recently and they said they are reevaluating this and they might let it happen, but we still need to wait for the official green light. So again, there are benefits, there are risks. And this is exciting for the future because now athletes will have power, investors will have power, and hopefully we'll get to a day where you don't need to be an accredited investor to invest in your favorite athletes, the same athletes that you spend hours on, you spend all your time on, and now it might have a payout for you. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you want to hear content similar to it, subscribe to my channel so that every day when I make a new video, you'll get a notification. I want to thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.